fantastic guests tonight. Madeline Rudy and Merlin Wizard. Let me get you their bios here. Madeline Rudy is Life in the Hologram is just one of the many shows Madeline has hosted since joining the global world of digital radio in 2007. Her cosmic, excuse me, as I clear my throat again, her cosmic adventure began when she left PA, Pennsylvania, in 2004, going to Florida and then Sedona, Arizona, now for its mystical and magical energy. She has over 30 years working as a student of the spiritual, metaphysical, as well as New Age. This expanded understanding gives her a global appeal not just to world-renowned guests, but to her listeners that follow her show, Life in the Hologram, as well as her social media outlets worldwide. Madeline took a leap of faith and vacated the corporate world, embarking upon a second career in alternative healing. As a spa owner, she gained years of knowledge in alternative healing while working out of the hotel industry as an aesthetician and massage therapist. As if her resume wasn't enticing enough, though, she is also a hypnotist, Reiki Master, and an inner Christ channeling teacher, as well as fluent working with tuning forks and light tools. Searching for more on a quest for her true mission in life, she closed her spa in Pennsylvania and embarked on a magical journey traveling from Florida to Arizona and to Georgia until finally returning to the place she calls home, which is Pennsylvania. And during that time, she has the great pleasure of traveling through, throughout the U.S. with Dr. Valerie. The wealth of knowledge she gained while working the Quantum Vortex Experience has been priceless in her own pursuit for awareness within the hologram. Madeline's days are now filled with esoteric studies, communication with like-minded souls, as well as empowering women through unique cosmetics and other venues. When Madeline isn't on air with Life in the Hologram, she's working on the internet or enjoying time with family and friends. And Merlin Wizard, Merlin has been a professional intuitive astrologer and spiritual mentor for over 36 years. He has written extensively as well as facilitated workshops on personal empowerment and guidance techniques for many years worldwide. His philosophy and ethics are clear as his practices revolve around the individual, not the one-size-fits-all mentality. His ability to call upon a variety of techniques developed from astrology, numerology, feng shui, naturopathy, meditation, as well as several others separates him from many of his peers. A sample of astrological topics, Merlin is educated as well as specializes in his list. Did I spit this out? Specializes in his listed below. I don't know if that really flew right. But anyways, okay, here we go. Excuse me. And it is late. Interpret how specific aspects found in birth charts can enhance a person's ability to excel in chosen area. Decumbiture, which is about using the birth chart to see why a person is unwell and then to find out how to treat them. How your natal moon affects fertility. Personal insight and observations on compatibility of when we fall in love. And this is his quote: I believe we all have free will to make choices in life, and I can help when you are coming up to a crossroads so that you can explore different options safely to improve your current situation. My approach is reflective and intuitive, quote unquote, and that's Merlin Wizard. His website is www.willyoulivethedream.info, and you can access their Life in the Hologram at www.kcrradio.com. All right, I spit all those out. Okay. So please welcome to the show Madeline Rudy and Merlin Wizard. Good evening and good morning.
Good evening.
Hello. Good morning.
Wonderful to have both of you on. I'm so happy to hear your voices.
Really yeah.
Willie Abbott and Costello of the airwaves.
Yes, you really are. So which one's more of the comic? Must be you, Merlin.
No, I think we both are.
Yeah, we both
good,
bounce off each other.
It's wonderful. Well, we'll try to get you to wake up a little bit over there. Have your tea.
I can't speak that fast, by the way.
Oh, that's okay. You know, it all works out in the end, and the illusion of, right? People know what we're saying even without speaking these days. That's what it is. Digitized. Yeah. So tell everybody how y'all met.
Virtually.
Yes.
Yeah. It was for Elizabeth, wasn't it? Elizabeth Rose introduced
Yes, it was.
Got us together. Yeah. That's how we first met. There's another lady that I met on LinkedIn who invited me on her show. And then Madeline was on her show at one time. Madeline said, "Oi, come over here." So she poached me onto her show, which was a different show. And then we got together and Madeline says, "Hey, let's do this together." So I said, "All right then." So
see how easy you are?
That's our summary.
Yeah.
We know who the boss is then, Madeline. That's you.
Well, I think we make a pretty good team, though.
Oh, I think so, too. I think you're both wonderful. And I encourage everybody to tune into your shows. Why don't you let them know when your show is live?
Well,
yes, and by the way, team has T in it.
There you go. You know, I can tell this is going to be an interesting night because we're all in a very strange mood of laughter and kind of like smart alecky, so that's okay.
Is it really, is it full moon or is it soon going to be the
Yeah,
full
Yeah,
he's
moon.
it's
actually in
almost.
Virgo.
There he
Yeah,
goes.
today.
Oh,
So
today.
that's good. See, it's rubbing off, Madeline. You're going to be an astrologer one day.
Well, I always did like astrology, and I did dabble in it, but it's like this was in the old days when you had to make your own charts.
Oh,
You didn't have
yes. I
computers
remember
to
those
do it.
days. Yeah.
Yeah. Nowadays
When it
everything's
took
computerized.
days.
And it's
It
like,
literally
oh my
took days to make
God.
charts. Yeah, gosh.
Times have
They were
changed.
good old days.
I think there's
Yeah.
something to be said about doing things by hand instead of
Yeah.
just
Well, it was
looking at
nice
programs.
because, yeah, you put a lot of care and attention to it. But with a computer, which is a calculator, you can make it very much more accurate. And also we can add in other aspects, which would have taken so much time to do it by hand, particularly the asteroids now. And they can make quite a difference. There's lots of subtleties in a birth chart, which you can see by using computer programs, which we couldn't really see doing by hand.
Right.
So, yeah, it's quite fascinating how it's developed.
It probably took months. Didn't it
It
take
could take
months to
days,
do them
yeah.
sometimes?
Yeah, weeks even, yeah. Yeah, if you had an appointment, you'd make an appointment 3 weeks in advance to give you time to do the chart.
Makes sense. Yeah. What about, where did you get your name from? I love Merlin Wizard. Where did that come from for you?
Well, my mum named me Merlin.
Did she really?
And the other, yeah.
Wow.
She was a Scorpio lady. So she knew things, yes. And she actually got me into astrology originally when I was 8 years old.
Wow.
So that's where my name came from, yes.
That's
and the rest of it has been added on by various electronic devices.
Well, I know.
When you're trying to set up an email account and you put your name in, this name has been taken.
Of course.
Try this one. So
that's why you use what you use on Skype.
Yeah, that's how it came about. Yeah.
I have a strong connection to Merlin, so yeah, through initiations of the past. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, very much so. So, what have y'all been working on project-wise? Madeline, both of you first. Whoever wants to go first.
Go ahead, Merlin.
What was the question?
Just wondering, what are you working on? What are your projects right now? What are you currently doing?
Projects. Oh, well, winning at life is the main project. Keep on going, muddling through, that kind of thing.
Nice.
And lots of astrology. I quite enjoy doing astrology, and I do a lot. People ask questions, so I look at their birth charts and sort them out in some way, or guide them, and mostly empower them to do it themselves, really. So that's the main projects, really. Yeah. And at the moment, I'm sitting here listening to birds outside, which is nice. Enjoying the daffodils and the crocuses and the hyacinths this time of year.
Oh, pretty. That sounds great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you find that there's a similar thread in the fabric of charts for people, or are they very unique and individual?
Yeah, everybody's got individualities, but there are trends like now, certain times of the year, certain months, there are trends on questions that people ask. So that's quite interesting. There's quite a lot of career questions come up this past week.
Yeah.
So yeah, the week before it was sort of relationship questions. Yeah, so it's quite interesting how different people can ask similar questions, and there may be a reason for it. So yeah, that's the curious thing.
So if people want to contact you, the best way to do that is through your website, right?
Yeah, they can contact me on Facebook or through Life in the Hologram, and also we have an email reading. Am I allowed to say that one?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, well, I don't know. Ask Madeline.
Well, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I've got you.
He has his own show on a Sunday afternoon on KCOR.
Where you do readings. That's right. Yeah. Let's talk about that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So it's email is reading at kcorradio.com. KCR Radio has 2 R's in it. So you can send us your details, which is your date of birth, place you were born, and if you know the time, that makes it more accurate. And myself and Caroline Lynch will be there on Sundays, today actually, later today. And we can delve into your chart, and if you've got a specific question, you can ask us. So we give you a free mini reading. Yeah.
It's nice. That's really, really nice. Yeah, that's great. In case people want to tune in. Go ahead.
But don't you think, Merlin, that
Yeah.
With all the people we've interviewed on the radio show, and like if we ask them their birthday, like they all, and if they're in the healing realm or like psychics or intuitive, they all kind of have a common thread, don't they?
That's true. Yeah, the healers tend to be more Pisces, don't they, or Virgo, and the people who are into UFOs tend to be more Aquarians.
Interesting.
Yes, it's all swings and roundabouts like that. Yeah.
Wow, I have Pisces, but
Adventurous.
I am Aries. But what's Aries? Police?
Aries tend to be more military kind of people,
Yeah.
security,
That figures.
warriors, pioneers, entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I've got the Aries double Pisces. We talked about that before when I was on your wonderful show, by the way. I was on both of your show. And so, yeah, Life in the Hologram. That was
Well, that's
fun.
nice. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, we like to have fun.
You do.
Yeah.
But I like that about you. I forgot what sign you were, Madeline.
I'm a Libra.
Okay, that's good. That's nice. That's very creative. What do you say about that, Merlin?
Well, Madeline's got a strong Sagittarius in her chart, so she's quite adventurous. And, her life expresses how she's been very Sagittarian, especially as she travels around and does on-the-site location broadcasts from tornado hit places.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see her Sagittarius big time, more than Libra, actually.
Yeah, because where your sun sign isn't really what you're about. It's the other planets, particularly Mars and Moon, where they are placed in your chart is really identifies you and designates what you're doing every day. Especially the Moon, because the Moon travels through the signs every 2.5 days. So people that have water in their chart, lots of water signs like Scorpio, Pisces, or Cancer, tend to be they can be changeable by where the Moon is. So when the Moon moves into Capricorn, they could be quite security conscious, and when it moves into Gemini, they could be very talkative, and when it goes into Pisces, they might want to isolate themselves. So they can be very affected by where the Moon is, and we all are to a certain extent,
right?
Depending on what is the most element in our chart, and it can be air, water, earth, and fire.
Yeah, my Moon's in Pisces, so that would explain a lot.
Oh yeah, you can be affected by where the Moon is. Yeah.
No doubt about it. So what are you doing for the full moon? Do you do any ritual work or anything?
Well, I tend to turn into a werewolf on a full moon.
Thought so. I was waiting for that.
Rampaging.
I thought you just flew around the cave.
Don't you think that's sexy, Madeline? I do.
Well, I was down. We were down at the beach, and I got out of the car to take some pictures of the moon at the beach. Because I'm at Myrtle Beach now. I changed locations, Merlin.
Yeah, there was a reflection on the water.
Yeah, there was. And I said to this lady, I said, during the full moon, there are some rituals that you can do at the beach, but I forget what they were. I think you go down, and I think it's around this time of the night where you would go down and you're supposed to put your feet in the water. Yeah.
It's nice. Have a dip.
Well, it sounds like it. Well, that sounds like purification to some degree, but I would imagine just scrying alone. But when you're on the beach, you can do just about anything over there. You're doing ceremony. How beautiful. It sounds perfect. And then you said you were going to be heading towards a snowstorm. Go ahead, Merlin.
Lots of people tend to cleanse their crystals in the full moon and put their crystals out on the windowsills or in the garden.
Right. And then I remember this
can
other
be cleansed, can't they? Yeah.
Then you take your wallet out, your empty wallet, and you hold it up to the moon and you say, fill it up, fill it up, fill it up.
Idea.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Yeah. I'll have to try that one.
Your wallet gets filled up. I better dash out there.
I was going to say, I do.
Be our own wallet.
I do like the charging of the crystals. That does work around the full moons. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very powerful.
Yeah. And people do various things. There's candle rituals that some people do, and if you're into witchcraft and Wiccan and white witches, they often do lots of candle rituals.
Yeah, I'm a craft practitioner.
And there's certain certain idols that are popular on certain full moons, and particularly this time of year coming up to the equinox. There's various things that go on, and people go on pilgrimages to various places as well.
And we have Ostara coming up, and all kinds of cool stuff happening. I love springtime anyway, so it's a good time for new beginnings, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, well, typical Aries is the Aries turn to late spring.
Yeah, that's me, all right.
Yeah, wherever your planets are, you tend to be favouring the season.
Mm-hmm.
If you're
born, I like the spring.
Sorry.
I like fall. I love autumn too.
Me too. But winter, forget about it.
And plus, you said you were heading into a snowstorm, right?
Yeah, we had a very, very kind of warm winter. And now it's all coming in March. And, that's the way March can be sometimes. It can be a lot of snow.
Mm-hmm.
But it goes away quickly. It's not like when it starts to snow in October.
Right. So you said you were out in Sedona a little bit, right, Madeline?
Yeah, I lived out there for 5 years.
Wow. So what decided to make you switch gears and go back to like Pennsylvania?
My kids wanted me to come home, and I was ill. I knew I was ill, but I didn't know how ill I was till I got there.
Mm-hmm. And what caused that?
I had ovarian cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So what caused it? Probably stinking thinking, or else talcum powder.
I was thinking energetic too. That's what I asked. And
yeah.
I'm glad you got through that, though. It's wonderful that you got through everything.
Well, yeah, because even when they said, when the doctor says, "Well, you have cancer," I said, "No, I don't have cancer. You got to be crazy. I don't have cancer."
Mm-hmm.
And I kept telling them I didn't have cancer up until they took the tumor out that was the size of a watermelon.
Wow. And you're a healer too, so I'm surprised. I'm wondering, as a healer, sometimes we build up on toxicity too. As we're healing others, we heal ourselves. That's kind of that system that runs through. So I'm wondering if that was part of it.
Well, and I had a lot of people working on me because, I didn't really know what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And the strange thing was I had this very bad, like a sciatica hip problem. And I dowsed the phone book. I was living in Georgia at the time. And I didn't know who to go to. So I just got my dowsing out and I dowsed the phone book to see which chiropractor I should go to. And I picked one, the dowser said, yes, go to him. Okay. So I called them up and I told them and I went over and come to find out he lived in my town where I lived in Berks County.
Wow.
Yeah. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Dowser worked well.
But they took some x-rays and things and I didn't know at the time what this meant, but I do now. And I said to her, there was a big white spot on the x-ray. And I said, well, what's that white spot? And she said, it's a gas pocket. Oh, I said, okay. So I'm laying at home at night when I'm going to bed and I'm pressing around in my stomach. I thought, well, if it's gas pocket, let's see if I can release it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a tumor.
Oh, man.
When something shows up white on an x-ray, that's some kind of growth or something. Yeah.
That makes sense. So, man, people are dangerous when they don't have the information to a lot of these. I really don't trust Western medicine. That's for darn sure. So, yeah. Did you go more homeopathic for your healing?
No. Then I went to a doctor and then this is a funny story. He says, well, you could have an enlarged uterus. I said, no, I'm probably having the alien baby.
That would be on there you go, UFO con.
Because, like I said, when they kept saying, oh, you have cancer, and I'd say, no, I don't.
Well, because you didn't get any symptoms, right?
Well, no, it was just regular symptoms that you would get. Well, if you look at these symptoms of ovarian cancer, yes, I did have some of the symptoms. And I did see it on Dr. Oz once. And then when I came home and I watched Dr. Oz again, and he went over those symptoms, it's like, I have pretty many of those. But you don't think of anything because like my stomach was getting bigger and I had indigestion but some of these things you just think, oh, I'm just getting older. This is nothing. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
You don't relate it with cancer. You just think, oh, these are just normal things of getting older.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you found out what it was and you got through that. Because that can be lethal. No doubt about it. That's another thing also when the body is out of balance. And Merlin, chime in anytime you want, but it seems to me like we both know and we all know as healers that, you have disease-causing factors that connect into the energetic field. It starts in the aura, usually, in the energetic grid, and then it permeates into the body. That's why I always think it's really important to keep your energetic grid, your astral body or your four-body system purified, detoxified as best you can. What do y'all think about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is holistic, isn't it? And it's a manifestation of something that's happened. And in my experience, people that have these kind of diseases and other kinds of terminal kinds of illness, they tend to have lots of repressed anger, often from childhood.
That makes sense.
And it sort of builds up and they're unable to release it or forgive, as it were. And eventually, as we get older, and it happens to us all because our body ages, and when we're younger, we can sort of recover from certain things. But as we get older, it gets harder even just to get over a cold. And so eventually, something happens, something snaps, as it were, and the body manifests in a certain thing. I think one of the examples I've known about is autoimmune disease, where the body actually starts reacting against itself. A person I've known that's had it had lots of childhood angst, and they're unable to address it, and particularly because the people that had caused their angst were no longer alive, so they couldn't have it out of them. They couldn't talk to them and get some kind of peace of mind. So timing as well is
right.
We have a certain window open to sort these things out, don't we, as well?
Right. Well, what about regression?
I was just going to say that. That when you have, if you can't deal with the people in real life, you can go into a hypnosis regression and bring them up.
Right. And you do hypnosis.
Tell them why and what for.
So you do hypnosis,
and leave it go. Yeah.
And that's great. And you do everything when it comes down to, is it past life or is it just anything that they need? No, I do anything that they need. Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, I've never been put under, and I'm very weird about that. But I think that's there are times when you really need it. Well, yeah, if you learn to work the mind, you can actually change anything you want in your life. Yep. Because the mind is the computer of the body. Yep. And I have a situation with my foot, and I've been trying to use my mind to get rid of it. Well, you're a healer, so you know how to send the energy over there. No, I've been sending and sending. What side is it on your right or left? It's on my right. Everything happens on my right side. That's the male side. Now, Merlin, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is the male dominant side. Merlin, do you know anything about that? Yeah, I suppose it is really, and it's the control center as well, because right side is about control, isn't it? Doing things, whereas the left side is more artistic and creative, and I should say feminine. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's an interesting point. So people wanting or needing to have control over their lives, I suppose, perhaps there's a restriction going on. If you've got a dilemma with it, a problem. I have plantar fasciitis right now. I mean, you're fine 1 minute and you go to bed and you get up the next day. You don't run, do you? At least you're laughing about it. See, that's good. I don't run. Most people be swearing. Trust me, I am swearing every time I have to stand up. I would think a foot soak or something like that might help. Oh, I've been putting essential oils on it. I've been using hypnosis. I've been putting asper cream on it. You name it, I've done it.
short of
support your arch.
I even bought these little they're
insoles.
like yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, because
We'll figure it out.
I looked at some shoes the other day, and I've noticed that there's even in the like let's say tennis shoes or sneakers or whatever you want to call them, running shoes, hardly any of them have arches in them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yeah,
it's
And
the
and
same
this
here.
is a
They don't design
problem
them.
that
Yeah,
a lot of people get, this plantar fasciitis.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's very common. Yeah.
Well, sometimes I think it has to do with your form, your walking form, but I'm pretty sure your form is probably decent.
Well, I fell. I fell in November, and I was getting chiropractic treatments, and then it came out of nowhere, this situation. So,
Oh, I see. Yeah. So it could be referred from another place, like the pelvis or the thighs or something like that, sciatica nerve.
Because usually
Probably
when you have a
causing it.
situation, like I'm thinking, it might be coming from my left shoulder, because it goes from your left shoulder to your right hip to your left knee, and then it could be down, and then it zings over here to your right foot.
Yes.
Sounds like you need a chiropractor.
Yeah.
I used to call them bone crackers, but I did a lot of competitive martial arts in the day, and I'd always go to one, and I used to love it.
Well, I was thinking about cranial sacral too.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, that would work.
Yeah, it could be from trauma. Yeah. That's a good idea.
Yeah. You're so funny, Merlin. That's Aries. I know it is, isn't it? We like combat, don't we?
Yeah. It's true. It's active. You need to be active, you see. I mean, even if you're sitting down, you can't just do nothing. Lots of Aries people I know, if they're sitting down watching TV with their loved one, they're knitting or they're doing something else as well as sitting down watching TV. You know, it's very difficult for Aries people to be still, and they can be confused about people that need to have a rest. You know, sometimes you might need to have a rest, have a cat nap in the afternoon, siesta or whatever. And Aries people think, oh, what are you doing being lazy? And because they got so much charged energy, they can get out and do things. They can probably do the job of 3 people.
I have.
They
I
think
never got
anybody
paid for
else. Yeah, but they can be. They can't understand how people can get tired.
That's funny. It's that fire
it's
too.
Funny.
Do you think the fire signs have just a lot more energy than regular, say, water? Because water is more receptive and picks up on more.
Yeah, fire signs can be very active people, and they do tend to be go-getters, and particularly Aries tend to be. Sagittarians are very good at telling stories and teaching, and they got lots of energy for that kind of thing. Leos tend to be good at creating environments for people, so they're good from being a boss. If they're managers, for example, they can create safe environments, working environments, and in the home life as well. They like to entertain their friends, like the friends coming around and lavishing them with things and treating them in a certain way.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah.
It's really interesting when you look at the astrology. You know, some people don't want to believe in it, but I can honestly tell you, I can see so many people's personalities emulated through their zodiac sign to some degree.
It's fascinating what you can notice about people, and it's very useful. You know, I mean, they should teach it in medical school. Medical professionals should understand about it, because when I practice decumbiture, which is medical astrology, and you can look at somebody's birth chart and find out what they're prone to with regards to ailments. So, for example, a Virgo or a Cancer person, they tend to be prone to stress. So they need to be in situations where they're not stressed. If they do get stressed, then it can manifest in digestive upsets, which can, be a simple upset stomach, but over the years it can develop into something more serious. So, medical people were aware of that and approached it in a holistic way. I mean, alternative practitioners do, but allopathic medical people tend to isolate the symptom rather than looking at the cause.
Mm-hmm. So true. Well, in the old days, in like the Asian, holistic medicine, it seems to me like they were in tune. Yeah.
Well, that's right. I was trained by a traditional Chinese medical doctor in
Nice.
acupuncture and herbals, and that's their philosophy. See, that they're taught is their father taught him. He was a doctor. And their philosophy is passed down through the generations, so it's a lifestyle. And Chinese do tend to be more life health conscious, and they see their Chinese doctor regularly, rather than just going when they're feeling ill. They have a routine of popping in and seeing them and having a checkup quite regularly. And the doctor will prescribe them with certain things, or give them some acupuncture, or whatever else that's maybe needed, or just to keep them in balance, to keep their chi in balance.
That's the whole thing. I love acupuncture too. That's so nice. I love it.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
My first massage that I learned was shiatsu.
Nice.
But I have to laugh when you're talking about Chinese medicine. The oncology doctor was from China. Didn't even speak that good of English. I said, He said, "You take chemo." I said, "No, you get me the Chinese herbs."
Yeah.
No kidding.
Well, there was a story about a Chinese medicine story, which was quite interesting. The friend I used to know, who's another Chinese doctor, told me the story. And there was a big train crash back, I think it was 99, I think it was, near a station. And it was due to signal failure. And the train was going fast enough, and it caused a lot of problems, and people were killed. People were injured. And there was one particular woman, she was a Chinese woman, and she actually was a TV presenter on the news in China. And she was on holiday. And she was taken to quite a renowned hospital where they put her on life support. And they'd written her off. They decided they couldn't do anything for her. And that her parents came over from China, and they needed her parents' permission to switch off the life support machine. But her parents brought a traditional Chinese doctor with them, and he assessed her, and he said, "Let's take her back to China." So they didn't switch her off. They took her back to China, and they gave her a combination of allopathic medicine, which medication, and also Chinese medicine, so acupuncture, and very stimulating her nervous system. And after 5 years, she was back presenting the news on TV.
Nice. Yep.
So curious how different people work.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's a lot of power in the Qigong too. Qi masters, for example. A lot of power. And of course, you both have the background in is it Reiki? Because I'm a Reiki master teacher too. I know you are. Are you the Yusui system?
Yes.
Yeah, that's I don't know how many, it seems to me like it's gotten watered down over the years or over the decades. I don't know if you know. I mean, I was involved in this a long, long time ago. So I've seen things change, and I'm sure you have as well. It just seems like I don't know, everybody and their mother's doing it, and it seems like it's really not even effective.
Yeah, it's something that Jane Lawson talked about the other day on Facebook, and there's so many people doing courses and being trained by people who are not really properly trained, and just doing a few hours of a course doesn't mean you're a master in something. It is quite frustrating, isn't it? Because the problem is that the skeptics and the authorities jump on this, and then they close things down. And we have to be very careful, don't we? The ethics are kept and standards are kept up.
It was supposed to be secret.
Correct. Yeah.
All the symbols were supposed to be kept secret, and then all of a sudden they're everywhere.
Yeah, you can find them on the internet. You can Google them. But you know what? They have to be initiates. And even if they use the symbol and they try to be initiates, I don't think they're going to get much out of it, quite honestly. And I remember in the old days with my teachers, man, you had to be at a certain frequency before they even think about initiating you. So things have changed now. These people can have these like conferences, even I guess on the internet, where they can just get, initiation. And I'm thinking, wow, that's not the way it works when I came from. And also you're right about hours and hours and hours of working on people. And also studying. This was a science.
It's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just like anything else.
Followed by lead by example kind of lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't aware of that. And I've met several practitioners who don't understand the chakra system, and yet that's fundamental in any Asian medical technique to know how the chakra system works. And it's quite frustrating, and that can take a long time to understand. So yeah, it's really strange, isn't it, what's going on?
Yeah, I think so. What about you? I mean, I come from astrology too, and you must find it interesting. I see a lot of that too, where it's almost like cookie cutters. A lot of replication out there, a lot of self-replicating people. So,
Yes, there's lots of people on social media sites who talk about various things about astrology, and particularly the moon, which isn't really much about astrology. And when you look into them, they're more sort of spiritual kind of people. They might be into crystals, they might be into all sorts of other kind of spiritual things. And they've picked up some astrology and they dabble in it, but when they write something about it, they make lots of mistakes and things that an astrologer will pick up on. But it's unfortunate because it's the blind leading the blind, and I mean, it's sort of harmless in some ways, but it is worrying as well.
right.
Because again, it's what the skeptics jump on, especially astronomers. They jump on this kind
Right.
of thing, and they use
Yeah.
that as an example of why it's not, as it should. I mean, they can really be condescending about it rather than looking at a proper astrologer.
Right. I also see that with channelers too. A lot of people that aren't really channeling, I don't know what the heck they're channeling, but a lot of that's going on. And I don't know. It just seems like it's out of control. What is your take on people these days? I mean, in general, don't you think it's kind of the world is becoming a very strange place?
Yeah, they're nuts.
I agree.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
just
there's a lot
be
of
frank
changes.
about it. Yeah.
Well, I've observed some tarot readers, and I think there's three types of people who do tarot card readers, and it transfers into other kind of readings. And there's ones who they go on fishing trips and they bring out stuff, and then they say, oh, there's somebody here in this name or that color, and they bring out things and to get a response from the questioner. And then when they get a response, they go on to other things, and they're constantly sowing seeds. They're constantly saying things to sort of guide themselves into what to say. Yeah, which is like a fishing trip.
I've seen that before too. I don't like it. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then there's other people that are empathic, and they can pick up on people's feelings. So they're actually transferring somebody else's feelings into the reading, making it out to be from a spiritual source, but it might not be.
I agree.
And then of course there's a genuine people who are spiritual, and they just know things. When I had a reading on Thursday by a friend, and she was telling me things about my relatives that passed over that only they would know about, which was quite fascinating. And she gave me a lot of comfort from doing it, which was nice.
Oh yeah, that's the real McCoy. Yeah, I like that.
But what scares me is that the people who are not proper spiritually tuned aren't aware that they're not. The empathic people think they are, and if you question them, they can be really quite hostile towards you. And of course, the ones that do the fishing trips, again, they can be quite confrontational when you try to ask them questions, pertinent questions, which a spiritual person would be quite comfortable to answer. So, I mean, I suppose that's the thing with listeners listening. Ask some questions. Ask things about them, and don't give them information if they're doing fishing trips on you.
Right, so, I agree. It reminds me of that guy. Was it Crossing Over, that series where he just probed people? And I never thought he was any big deal. But you know what I'm talking about? So
no, I'm not sure who it is.
Oh, it was a series, and the guy would always point out to nine. So I see a J and a Jim, or somebody's going to say something. Okay, I mean, it was so generic. I can be skeptical, and I am very intuitive, very psychic, but I don't brag, and I just am what I am, and I'm more the knowing type. I just do. I don't really.
Well, they did a TV program here once, and I don't know if it was last year or the year before. And they took a group of people. They advertised, psychics come and do this TV program. So a group of people, I don't know, about 6 of them, went on this TV program, and they took them to this old factory, it's quite like a Victorian type of factory. And there was in the entrance hall, there's a big painting of this man's head, a portrait of somebody. And then there were various bits and pieces, artifacts left behind, as if they'd been left there. Old bits and pieces of machinery, and I don't know, a few bits of clothing and wooden cases, all sorts of things you might find in an old deserted factory. And they asked each one individually what they sensed, what they picked up on the place. And it's quite fascinating how they interviewed them individually, and quite several of them picked up things about what happened, and there was a terrible murder and something awful happened. And quite, I think the three of them picked up a similar kind of story, and one of them didn't pick up anything. And then there's another person, I think it's a man, who went on about this painting at the entrance hall, about who this person was in the painting, and apparently he was supposed to be some boss, and how he treated the workers. Went into great detail what he thought, what he felt happened. At the end of the program, they came out that the person that was presenting it said, okay, so this place was actually a shoe factory, and it was closed down there, and he told the story of what the factory really was and what happened to it, and how nobody was ever murdered and all the rest of it.
Oh,
and
wow.
Then it was quite fascinating. So they're all looking there, only one person didn't pick up anything, whereas the others were telling stories about what happened. So there you go. It's quite an interesting
See, that's
TV
what I
program.
mean. Yeah, that's a very good point you're making right there, because there are a lot of people who like to read way too much into something that's not there.
Yeah.
That's really concerning. Just like the ghost hunters, a lot of that stuff going on. What is your impression of ghost hunters, both of you? Yeah.
Well, again, I don't think ghosts come out for TV.
I agree.
Are you sure?
What were they going to do? Pay them?
What?
Are you sure, Merlin?
Yeah. Yes, I think that's all a bit strange. And I mean, there was a story about somebody who he is actually quite gifted, but he got involved in the TV side of ghost hunting, and he became quite wealthy and quite confident. And then he was doing things which were sort of outside the box, and the people in the psychic spiritual circles were uncomfortable about it. And then suddenly he had this car crash, and he had a very expensive car, and he crashed it, and it was quite odd how he crashed it. It just sort of went out of control. So then it was thought, well, a spirit teaching him a lesson, bringing him down a notch, which I think, that can happen.
Right. Do you believe in curses and that sort of thing?
Well,
Not really
remember
curses,
the other day when I called you or talked to you about this little boy?
Oh, I do need to call her, by the way. Yes, go ahead. Yes.
Well, he really went off the hinge. He went off the hinge. The mother went off the hinge. My friend spent the night at the house, and she felt that he was possessed. So she called in the Catholic priest and a Lutheran priest. And then they took him to the hospital to have him checked out. Nothing, he has no problems. I keep hearing that it's something with his diet, but they bound up the spirit entity or whatever it was that was getting after him or was inside of him. So hopefully it's gone.
Well, was he on any type of drugs or anything?
No.
Was anything like that? You have to be careful binding spirits, because that's just going to make it worse. Honestly, people want to go out there and contain these things. I'm like, you're just going to piss them off unless you know what you're doing. So, but interesting. What were his symptoms? If you want to share that.
He would just during the night he would get up and he would just go berserk, like screaming, running around the house, running out the door, and saying, "Oh, they're trying to kill me! They're trying to kill me!"
Wow. Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, and then the only way they could wake him up is if they put like cold water on his feet. And then when he would finally wake up, he's there. Well, what's going on?
Oh my goodness. It does sound like he's an abductee.
Well, that's what I thought too.
Yeah.
And then I thought, some people they go off the hinge on some foods that they eat. And you're not even aware of this food that could make you crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, the diet is huge. I agree with you on that one. I'd also be clearing his room. Hopefully she did some kind of clearing or blessing in the house.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sounds to me, a lot of people, if they're young and they get abducted by something or they get pulled into something, they get that trauma. So it sounds like that could be a possibility for sure.
Well, now it was these two kids in particular who were playing a certain game. And when they were playing it, it had like these spirals that were in the game. But when my friend went back in to look about this game, the game with the spirals were gone. Now, the one boy was getting epileptic seizures, and the other boy, he was having that whole running out the door and running around the house. And
that's big. Yeah, that sounds like mind control. That sounds like something's afoot.
Yeah.
I'd like to look at that. I'd like to see what that spiral game is. Wasn't it a while back was it Pokemon or one of those things that was giving kids seizures?
Something was.
I can't remember which one of those animation ones from, I think it was Pokemon. I don't remember. Anybody has it in the chat, let me know. But the kids were going into seizures watching the animation.
Mm-hmm. Well, this first boy, he was going into seizures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't believe in coincidence. And that's the thing is kids are so impressionable these days. I mean, it's bad enough we have attention deficit people around there that are just completely lost in their iPhones. But now the children are getting kind of indoctrinated into that technology. And to me, I think it's steering them away from their spiritual nature and their natural intuitive insight. What do you think, Merlin, too? Merlin, you sleeping?
Yeah, it's it is a curious thing. And it reminds me of that religious group a few years ago now that took an autistic child and tried to exorcise him and ended up killing him. That's where it goes extreme, isn't it? Some of these religious groups are quite extreme about these kind of things, which can be a mental disability, as it were, like autistic or Down syndrome or something.
Well, actually, the priest couldn't do an exorcism on him because he had to go talk to his bishop.
Oh,
it's like, what?
Wow, there's no spiritual warfare expert that's just non-denominational, huh?
Well, there probably is.
You know, when I was on your show, we discussed the mind control and psychotronic weapons and covert technology. Also, the way they can literally take over a host and make it look like they're being possessed, which is electronic possession. And I don't discount that either with anybody. Because it can give the simulation, it can give the symptoms of a possession when it's actually done by a covert warfare program. And that's very concerning because the Vatican is all Jesuit. So you've got these guys, and I know they know this technology. I know they know it. Not only do I know they know it, I'm sure they're deploying it. So they can come in and waltz in and say, oh, well, we have the cure to what's wrong with you. We'll just exercise you. When in fact, it's all technological interface. That's pissing me off. And this is why I wrote about it in my book, I the Remote. And not to change the subject, but when you talk about things like this, we have to factor in, yes, there's all kinds of anomalous energy, but we still have technology amok here that's being misused and abused.
I wholeheartedly agree with that because that's what I said. I said, you need to talk to Solaris.
Yeah, she does. I'll call her. I'm sorry I didn't get back to her. If she wants me to call her still, I can certainly do that.
Yeah, I would. I would because there might be some light that you need to shed.
Well, and also you can't send them over to the hospitals. You got to be careful with people who are getting because then they'll put them in a psychiatric unit and they may not even need to be in these things. So I've seen many people who are MK Ultra oriented that wound up in places like that didn't belong there.
Right.
What are they going to do? The people they're not trained to look for things. They're not trained to look for, say somebody's hearing communication in their head. Oh, they're hearing voices. They're crazy. No, it could be interface, So there's a lot of things that you have to look at. And this is one thing that you touched on, Merlin. People really need to know their sciences behind the science. They need to understand their own profession, but they also need to know what else is going on so that they can actually assess somebody.
But I don't think they want to know. Do you, Merlin?
No.
A lot of these people who are...
That's one of the dilemmas, isn't it? Because if you look at somebody's birth chart and they say they can hear voices, and they've probably got Pisces going on, or Scorpio, and it's probably because they're channeling. They're getting messages from loved ones, but they go to a GP, go to a doctor about it, and the doctor has them certified.
Right,
or
and that's
puts them on
another thing.
Some kind of medication.
If you're a natural psychic and you're naturally able to interface in consciousness with anything, a conscious conduit, they can hijack that entire network of who we are as bioelectric and interface it onto artificial telepathy programs, which I'm very familiar with. So they can actually hijack the gifts of an intuitive and take that and then really start creating havoc and using the person for their own personal operator, so to speak, which can become chaos in motion. So that's another part of the beast that they don't talk about.
Well, and I don't think a lot of them even know about it, and they don't want to know about it either, because they don't think it's real.
And they'll also lose their jobs. I mean, you either know about it or you don't. And the people that are pretending they They don't know anything about it who have clearances. Those are the ones, the ones that obviously do know about it. They don't want to say anything. Then you have the other people who just want to play it safe on the fence. They just want to pretend it doesn't exist. Well, they'll keep their pensions, their paychecks, and everything else, but they're doing a disservice because many people are being impacted by different formulas associated with that. So we are heading for a break, everybody. You're listening to Ravenstar's Witching Hour here at freedomslips.com. I have some incredible guests tonight, Madeline Rudy and Merlin Wizard. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.